you're battling with increasing costs at the front end. So we need to ease those costs for them. And there are opportunities for growth that government can do, for example, accelerating new infrastructure projects. So that will really help those businesses on top of all that really great stuff they are already doing.
Well, despite the drop in business confidence, there are some big high street names trying to buck the trend and enter 2025 with a more optimistic vision for the year ahead. Well, let's speak to CJ Antell-Smith, Commercial Director of Poundland, who joins us this afternoon. Before we get into the initiatives you're taking to try and bring down the cost of things for consumers, just talk to us about the lead up to Christmas. So crucial, isn't it, for retailers like yourselves? Was it a good Christmas for Poundland?
It was a good Christmas for Poundland, yes. We did see that actually shoppers left their Christmas shopping later than usual. We also saw that with Halloween. So it's obvious that consumers are really trying to manage their budgets and ensure that their spending is spent in line with expectations in the run up to Christmas and not earlier than they wanted to spend it.
And CJ, let's talk about the cost of things, because we have seen inflation pretty high over the last couple of years. It's now tapered off in the last 6 months to a year. But apparently a pound today should be or is worth about £2.42 compared to 1990, I think, when Poundland first opened. How have you been able to keep so many items then at a quid?
I think that when we were established back in 1990, all of the items that we sold were a pound. As you've quite rightfully said, a pound in the equivalent of today's money would be £2.42. So we're really proud that over half of the lines that we sell within Poundland are still at that pound price point. We fight really hard to ensure that we give great value for our consumers. We know that we're really obsessive about price and obsessive about making sure that we offer the best value for our customers. And keeping to that pound is certainly tricky, and we have to work really hard. The team work really, really hard every day to ensure that we combat some of that inflation that we're seeing coming through.
Yeah, I suppose that's my fundamental question is, how do you do that? Because ultimately inflation is high. I mean, it just seems to defy economics, if you like, in the sense that how can something still be worth a quid with you guys trying to make money from it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we have to be really clever. So it's clever about controlling our costs, clever about working really hard with our supplier base to deliver exciting new products and value for our consumers every day. And really clever about, so the brands do a great job in FMCG, which is a lot of our food products, and also across our general merchandise. However, our own brand products can offer equally great value without what we would call a brand tax being added on to that price point.
Well, I suppose there'll be some consumers, CJ, who might say being clever might mean items that are smaller, shrinkflation. It might mean the less quality.
No, absolutely not. I think if you look at our items that we sell in store, they're not, we're not using cost engineering to take the product small or anything like that. The brands might do that, and we do watch them really closely in terms of the strategies that they deploy. And that's why our own brand is incredibly important in offering equivalent value for consumers, but at that great quality and making sure that the product is fit for what consumers expect and that the taste is there, the quality is excellent, and that consumers can be really happy and delighted with what they find in the Poundland.
In saying that, I mean, it's not been the easiest time for Poundland. I mean, the company you guys admitted last year have been quite challenging, I think, with £642 million hits.
Absolutely. And I think keeping prices at a pound is what's really important. Our recent campaign, Our Essentials, so you can see that we've got a loaf of bread, 6 eggs and 4 pints of milk at a pound. That's really great value, and you can't say that we're taking any of those sizes down in terms of cost engineering or value engineering, as you alluded to earlier. Those products are constant, and being able to offer those at a pound for our consumers means that they've got more disposable income to be able to spend on some of the treats and other items that they want to pick up when they come into a Poundland. And
just very finally, CJ, you know, it is a tough time for the British economy at the moment. We're not really seeing any economic growth. Consumers potentially are going to tighten their belts again if we see unemployment rise. Are you optimistic about 2025? Because, you know, going into this year, it's looking quite tough, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's tough for a lot of businesses out there, but I think this is where value really comes into importance for customers. And what Poundland do is offer great value. We've got over 2,400 of our lines constantly at £1. We fight really hard to keep our costs low for customers so that they can enjoy the products that they love at lower prices and to ensure that they're getting great quality at the same time.
OK, CJ, thank you for your time. I have to say I was in a Poundland yesterday. It was very busy in East London, so people are still going out and about. But that is CJ Antel-Smith, the Commercial Director of Poundland. Thank you. Now, let's bring you up to date with some of the rest of the day's business stories. And the pound has fallen back from earlier gains after Donald Trump denied he's preparing to water down his threat to impose a universal tariff on all goods entering the United States. The Washington Post reported plans were being put in place to only apply tariffs to critical goods rather than all imports. But Trump took to social media to deny the story, calling it fake news. December saw the steepest decline in service sector jobs for 4 years, according to the latest S&P Global UK Services Index. There was a slight increase in business activity, but it was the third month in a row where employment in the sector had fallen amid continuing concerns over weak growth and increased staffing costs. B&Q has agreed to buy 5 stores from Homebase following the DIY chain's fall into administration last year. It follows a similar deal to purchase 3 of Homebase's sites in the Republic of Ireland on Christmas Eve. And you can get more on that, indeed the rest of the business news, on our Money blog. All you need to do is scan the QR code that's on your screen right now to access the blog on our app or indeed on the Sky News website. Now, the UK's largest dedicated parcel delivery company, Every, has announced it enjoyed a bumper festive period with deliveries up 12% year on year. It also had its busiest ever trading week around Black Friday at the end of November. During peak times, the company was dropping off 4,000 parcels a minute, according to them, at UK households and businesses. Well, let's speak to the chief executive, that is Martijn de Lange. Very good afternoon to you, Martijn. So a bumper Christmas, particularly it seems driven around sales at Black Friday.
Yeah, that's right. We are reporting today a Christmas record trading performance between Black Friday and Christmas, actually up 20% year on year, but for the last 9 weeks, 12% up year on year. So yeah, that represents almost 4 million parcels a day. So we're super proud of that. We've done that after recruiting an extra 9,000 people and invested 35 million in extra service. And so we're very proud of our couriers delivering 99% of these parcels on time through what has often been very challenging weather circumstances. I think we've seen the snow today, but of course also the storms and the floods. So yeah, we've had a very, very good Christmas and Black Friday trading, despite some of the business news that has also come out today.
Yeah, and you talked about some of the challenges there. What about the challenge of consumer spending? Because it's clear some retailers are suggesting it hadn't been a great Christmas. Are you delivering more parcels because you're eating up a greater share of the market, or because actually things aren't too bad out there, that Christmas wasn't that bad?
Yeah, I think we saw more subdued trading before Black Friday. And then actually after Black Friday, volumes were a lot higher than we expected. I think this has a couple of factors. First of all, the online delivery market, of course, is still growing. Second of all, Every is growing as a business. I think we are a UK success story and parcels are voting with their feet. And that means that more of them are choosing Every because we're doing a really good job. So it's partly the growth in the market. It's partly the growth of Every. And of course, the rest is all down to consumer spend. And consumer spend, I think, has been tough, but probably since Black Friday, consumer spend went up because people were looking for a bargain. So we saw that growth across the kind of traditional UK retailers, but also very much in marketplaces and in social e-commerce, where there's a lot of growth, and that's, of course, also driving the growth of our business.
Yeah, and while those figures are good, it must be said, it's not all good news for your company, is it? In the sense that Ofcom, you look at that research, you're bottom of the pile, again, for consumer satisfaction, bottom of the pile, again, when it comes to dissatisfaction rates. I mean, that's not good that, yes, consumers may be using your service, they may not have a choice, but they aren't terribly happy, some of them.
I think the growth is ultimately representing that more people and customers and retailers are choosing Every. And that's clearly only because we're doing a really good job for a really decent price with a lot of services. And I think ultimately that survey is an inaccurate view of our service performance. The real correct facts is that we are delivering 99% of our parcels on time, that we are rated 4.3 out of 5 on Trustpilot, which is a rating that is called great, and that we have a 4.7 out of 5 rating from our customers for our couriers. So I think our couriers are getting a lot of appreciation from customers, but it doesn't mean that we don't want to get better. We always want to get better, and that's why we invested 35 million in Peak to have great service. That's why we invested in customer service. And that's why we've also invested in a partnership with Scope, the disability charity, to be the most accessible carrier in the country for people with a disability.
I get that, but at the same time, you know, we're not going to bandy figures around here in terms of customer satisfaction. That wouldn't be useful. But it is clear, if you deliver 2.7 million parcels a day, there are tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of customers who are not getting a good service.
Yeah, I recognize that, and that's why we want to get better all the time. But I think it's very well recognized that every service is getting better and better every single year. So we're on a really good trajectory. I think it's also well recognized that we've had a better Christmas and peak trading than a lot of other carriers, that we've invested a lot of money, and that we're getting better as a business. And that a lot of these customer satisfaction numbers are very high. And that's what the retailers are seeing, and that's why they are choosing Every. And that's, of course, the only reason that we can grow if we do a really good job. OK, good stuff. Thank you very much indeed for your time this afternoon. Martin de Lange there, the Chief Executive of Every. Thank you. OK, you're watching Business Live here on Sky News. We're going to take a quick break. Up next, it is the markets. The FTSE is up a fraction this afternoon. All the details in just a couple of minutes.
Big stories don't always come from big cities. I'm Lisa Dowd and I'm Sky's Midlands correspondent.
You are not getting in this elevator, okay?
The judge made it very clear that she could see no justifiable reason why Sakulas wasn't here facing British justice.
I promised I would get him justice.
Free, wherever you get your news. This is what they're up against. The wind is the really big problem. It is back-breaking work and the smoke is thick. It's been working well. Water levels are dropping, but no one knows what impact further rain will have. What would you do if this place wasn't open? This is the exact spot in Nottingham where their 19-year-old son, Barnaby Webber, lost his life.
I just think it's so cruel and so harsh.
It's really scary. We're terrified.
In this community, I'm told that everybody knows someone affected by COVID.
Hopefully this will be the last wave.
Sky News gets the full story first. Change seems tantalisingly close in this corner of the UK. Wales was the first to introduce the plastic bag charge. It's legal to let go. Set the speed and take the hands off. It's almost driverless, but not quite. Hans is a highly trained police dog. The force is incredible. It's really frightening, actually. This is my patch, my specialism. It's also my home.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story. A new start to Sunday.
I'm ready. Are you?
Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
Weeknights on Sky News.
This is your chance. Tell people. Welcome to the Politics Hub.
Our police force has apologised. If you want to find out about Grimsby, you come to the docks.
I'm live in Jerusalem.
Are you not concerned that that could lead to all-out war?
Hello there, good evening. There are fears of an upsurge in violence. What's at stake here?
You are watching the press preview, a first look at the front pages as they arrive.
You want to talk business? Meet me in the On-Board Lounge. Fly Emirates, fly better.
Well, very welcome back to Business Live. Let's have a look at the markets now in more detail. Delighted to say I'm joined by Anna MacDonald from Aubrey Capital Management. Anna, very good afternoon, as always, to you. Let's start on kind of the previous discussion that I was having just before the break, and that is about retail, because this is quite a crucial time in which we work out just how good or bad that golden quarter was, the build up to Christmas, and indeed the Christmas period itself for retailers and businesses up and down the country.
Yeah, and we're going to hear from the big retail stalwarts, starting with Next tomorrow, who are going to have a trading statement talking about that golden quarter. And we are looking for maybe 4 to 5% increase in revenues for that for the period. And then later in the week, we're going to hear from Marks and Spencer's. Now, their shares have done really well over the last year. They're up about 40%. And so investors have got quite high hopes for that, particularly on the food division, where they see we're hoping for, 8 or so % revenue growth, particularly as customers are being treating themselves to those kind of premium ranges in the run up to Christmas.
And this comes, doesn't it, Anna, at a time in which businesses are really concerned. They're concerned about the fact that they might have to hike up prices at a time in which consumers might not be able to afford that. We've got a stagnant economy. We've got tax increases. I mean, it's not exactly the greatest start to the year.
No, and I don't expect, I think Marks and Spencer and Next have both been able to pivot to what's been important for customers really well in terms of being able to have that out-of-town shopping centre presence and a very strong online offering. Not all retailers can do that. And we have actually seen a survey from the British Consumer Forum today talking about how many businesses are having to raise prices, many more than we're planning to, because of the increases that they're having to cover in terms of national living wages and higher labour costs in general from the increase in national insurance contributions.
OK, let's move abroad now, because sterling surged a little bit earlier on today on the back of that Washington Post article around tariffs and has subsequently fallen back.
Yes, well, there was a report in the Wall Street Journal saying that Trump may be more selective about the tariffs that he was going to put on. It would just be regarding critical materials coming into the US. And so the dollar, which has been very strong over this year, the strongest in a decade, has over 2024. But that story was then denied by Trump on his social network. And so that the dollar has then rebounded some of that strength, just showing how really quite unpredictable these stories are and how quick Trump can be to deny them.
And just briefly, Anna, and this is at a time in which people are concerned about US debt with the Trump presidency.
Yes, there's going to be $119 billion worth of new debt issued this week, and that has sent Treasury yields quite a lot higher. So investors are wanting to be paid more for what they lend the US government, and that's because I think of fears around higher inflation with Trump's suspected tariffs and low taxes as well.
Anna, great as always. Thank you very much indeed, Anna MacDonald there joining us. Thank you. OK, well, that is it for me on Business Live for this afternoon. Of course, we're back at 11:30 tomorrow morning. Do join me for that. Up next, it is the News Hour with Mark Austin, the very latest on the weather situation. But for me, for now, have a very good afternoon, and I'll see you tomorrow.